mute everybody. So
You
I
muted
just want
yourself.
to talk about the miracle, okay? Because when you wrote to me this morning, you said, oh, I've had a miracle, blah, 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 right? Your jaw's working, everything's working now. That's the effect of the miracle, all right? The temptation is to want to displace that miracle, and I mean displace in the correct use of the term, displace that miracle to the body, okay? The miracle is a shift in perception. So somewhere in your mind, in relationship to you versus your world being a relationship with I under God, right? Something has shifted. Now, it's important for you not to corrupt that, right? Because we exist in time, right? Let's say in time and eternity, but whilst we find ourselves here, we'll talk about it as here. There's Lisa, hello. It's important to maintain or to keep up with the protocol, if you like, of how it is that that shift came about. All right, because your ego is going to try and corrupt it and want to displace it onto the body. Oh, my jaw's all better. Okay, it's not your jaw that's all better. It's your mind. Something has shifted in your consciousness. And it's important to understand that and to sort of like honor it where it is, not to displace it to the body, because otherwise you're validating the body again, which is the same mistake that brought you that thing in the first place. Does that make sense? Okay. So think of yourself as mind. And even if you're doing those lessons and doing the workbook lessons and stuff, they're all dedicated to reorienting your perception of yourself as spirit, not flesh, right? Mind, not body. But even aside from doing those lessons, you can take some time out each day, whatever occurs to you, whatever appeals to you, and just sort of sit with the idea that I am mind, right? And reinforce everything that's going on. Hey, Chantel. And Gemma, there's Gemma. Gemma, you're looking amazing. What's going on? You're all radiant and you don't look like you've been out partying all night.
Them with a day.
So it's really important for that, because what happens is at this early stage in transformation, your mind is more habituated to the forgetting than the remembering, right? Eventually the scales tip. So you're doing the lessons, whatever. Eventually you start to realize, oh, I'm more in my correct frame of reference with myself as a spirit, right? Having this physical seeming experience than the body trying to bring myself back to the recollection that I'm spirit. Does that make sense? And when that occurs, let's call it a tipping point for a second, right? And you may go back and forth across the tipping point many times. You might sort of have a few days where you're really onto it and then like feeling like kapow or a week or a month or whatever. And then all of a sudden, boom, the rug will get pulled out from under your feet and you'll feel like you're right back to square one, right? Don't worry about any of that. The whole premise in this is just keep going, okay? Just keep going. The ego, right, that voice that's always going to try and validate the temporal, even though it doesn't exist, it's all, we know all that, we've read the course, right? It's going to be very manipulative, right? It's going to attempt, even on a spiritual level, to offer you a whole bunch of spiritual plausibilities couched as lovely spiritual terminology and all sorts of stuff and theories and things as to why you should listen to it. Okay. But the whole thing throughout this is don't listen to it. Listen to the voice within you that guides you. All right. So the temptation, I'm just going to use you as the example since you've had this shift in consciousness today, right? Or last night. I don't know what the time zone is here and there, but now, right. I'm just going to use you as the example. Since you've had that shift, the ego can't understand it. Okay. It attempts to go back flipping through the history books of memories that you've got to try and find the most plausible reference to offer you for what occurred to you, other than a miracle. Okay. And because in your mind, you're in a period of learning and teaching and all of that sort of thing, you're also going to be looking at things from a point of view of like, wow, something happened to me, right? And I think the question you wrote to me, how did that happen? Okay, right? It's only the ego asking that question. Okay, looking externally, which is me in this case, looking externally for a reference point for how that happened, right? Now, this is a course in miracles, not a course in how it happens, right? So just, I know it's difficult when I say try to get a sense of it, because you only get a sense of it through experience, all right? But try to get a sense of it as best you can, that something very important has just happened to you. Okay, not because suddenly your jaw is freed up and you have no injury as if it never happened, but because something has occurred that has an out of time reference. Does that make sense? So all the guys that are out of time, Jesus, whoever, Buddha, Krishna, whoever you want to use as an out of time reference, the angels, whatever, I don't care what it is, as long as it's not within time and space, right? Because time and space is a domain of the ego, and it will corrupt everything that it thinks it understands, right? That's its job and whatever. You've had something occur in your mind whose origins stem from outside of the time-space continuum. All right? Simply because you made a decision to be happy. You made a decision to join in an idea that can't be corrupted, which is an idea of your true self. All right? So you've left a space in your mind for something to occur. Early in the course, it says, I can't remember the exact terminology, but Jesus talks about giving the Holy Spirit some room in you to come and abide with you. Okay, you've done that, and he's doing his work. All right, it's important to remember that it's work that is divine, not, oh, look, my body's all better now. All right, because divinity is of the mind, not the flesh. The flesh is the symbolic representation of the denial of your divinity, and we're giving it no value. Right? Previously, we've given it all sorts of value. Look at me, how wonderful I am, and validation, all this sort of stuff. Now we don't care. It's like, whatever, it's just a useful tool for my experience here, and that's it. Put some clothes on it, put some food in it. Mogu. Give a plug for on your favorite drink. And yep, ice cream, whatever. And we're letting everything else about it go. Okay. One of the things that came through this morning when you were talking to me about that, and we were sort of back and forth a little bit, was to drink plenty of water, right? Because this is a cellular reassociation, right? As the mind heals, automatically it's going to play out through the body, so that whatever's going on for you in the body, right, when those right penny drop moments happen, and they will, the body will follow suit. Okay. It doesn't make any, it's not helpful really to have a body and not to be able to use it for, to offer your hands and your feet and your voice to God, you know, on behalf of the atonement. So let's fix that all up. But it's just important to hold that. Otherwise, it's like there's a saying that the first step to hell is a slippery slope. As soon as you misplace the miracle onto the body, whoop, off you go, and you're off in Disneyland again. You know, and having been in Disneyland many, many times in my own transformation, I know it's kind of like a really boring place to be. I've been on all the rides. I've done all the shoot the ducks. I've done it all. It is like, let's get the hell out of here. So is that cool? Oh, look, Kev's driving. Hey, Kev.
So I understood that I always thought pain was
inevitable suffering is optional. So the mind would make it so that I wasn't suffering, which was kind of the situation that I had. So I was just shocked to find it go so much further. And it was the first time last night that I felt like nothing was happening during the light session. I wasn't getting any experience. So having such a huge experience when I thought nothing was happening, that was very
you see how you're trying to pinpoint what you think's happening and not happening.
Yeah.
Right. Just let it be miraculous.
Yep.
I've done light sessions where I feel like nothing's occurring for me. I've said prayers where I think I haven't been heard. All these sorts of things, and they're just pointless. They're just mind babble going on and on and on. And you think, it's just doubt. It's just doubt, and it's just uncertainty, and it's all of these things showing up, trying to pollute my attempts to reinstate as the dominant point of view the truth of my relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can't second guess the Holy Spirit. You can't second guess the miracle. That's why it is a miracle, because you can't describe it. You can't tell how it happened.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's like same thing as you. I had cancer. I was healed of cancer within like the click of my fingers. How did that happen? I can only say it was a miracle. I could tell you the story, and I sat at the healing center for so many years. I did this, I did that. I said so many prayers, but there's no sequence of events that I can tell you about things that occurred for me that are going to make any sense to you, because at the end of the day, I still don't know how it happened. It's just a miracle, right? And now you have your own little testimony. You have your own little story of the miracle that occurred for you through the shift in your consciousness, or the shift in your mind, which came from a non-temporal reference, right? You experience it in the body because you experience everything through the body, but offer gratitude where it's due to God, right? That'll keep it sacred to you, and that'll keep it unpollutable, and the ego will be like, I can't corrupt that, because the ego doesn't know what God is. Got it?
Yeah.
All right, stay in that place, because that place that's holy, But I'm glad to hear, I love to hear you guys when you tell me about things like that. I've had a healing and whatever, and because that's the whole point of this. That's why this is active. There's no point sitting here doing a Zoom meeting just reading the course or watching course-related videos. We've got to be active, and we've got to be pushing each other's buttons. All right, it's like, let's all put on the boxing gloves, get in the ring of salvation, and beat the shit out of each other, right? It's better than trying to be holy. It's better than sitting here trying to be all namaste. And, I get these guys that namaste me every 5 seconds a day. It's like, oh, come on, man. It's like, what country you're born in? Just like, g'day, how you going, mate? So let's just keep it really, really real, really, really ugly, really, really active, right? Down in the dark. It's a journey into fear. We're going into the fear, but we're going there together. And in our typical fashion, we can bicker and argue about, let's go this way or let's go that way, and this is how it should be done, and that's how. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be a miracle. How the hell did we get out of that dark spot? I don't know. It was a miracle. But we went there together, and because we joined in our decision to go there together, we brought the light with us. All right. Jesus says, in the absence of a physical brother, call on me to stand with you in your dark places, in the darkness, in those places where you have the blocks. All right. You can't do this alone, because salvation is a journey of joining. Okay. That's like Ida, that group that I invited you to join. All right. And you said it was like a jigsaw puzzle of whatever going on. That's perfect. That's the whole reason I invited you to join that particular group. Some course groups are really polite and really, I'm in a few of them I don't really go on them much, but some of them are really sort of like sanitary and stick to the principles and try to be politically correct with their speech. All the guys on there are just like whatever. And then that particular one, just everybody's just like calling each other everything. And it's incredible. I love it. The power and the juice in that is just like, that's where transformation is, right? I understand you don't want to get involved in it, because the last thing you want to do is have to look at your own thoughts about things, right? And you get it's like when I was in Byron Bay, right, years ago with Ted at that healing center, it was one of the most horrific experiences of my life. On a given day, there would be anywhere from 50 people to 120 people in that place, everybody crammed into one building, all trying to work out their salvation, all trying to understand the course, everybody going around telling everybody else what this means, that means, and you got it wrong, it doesn't mean that. No, it means this, and this is what he means when he says this in the course, and everyone's underlining shit and bloody highlighting pages of stuff in their course books, and it's just like, it's mental. It's just mental, you know, but it's the perfect environment to bring you to a point of decision about things, right? It forces you to look at those ideas. It puts you into conflict in your own mind with ideas that are actually structured for your own greater good, right? It's much better, or much, not really better because there's no better or worse, but it's much more advantageous as far as being able to use time if you do find yourself in some kind of arena where conflict with things is present, right? Because you need some sort of backdrop to work your own reckoning of this against. So if you've got 10 people on this side of the room saying, this is what Jesus means by this, and 10 people on the other side saying, well, no, I think this is what it is because I've had an experience, this, that, and the other, you're there in the middle and you need a miracle, right? But if you're sitting at home by yourself, not engaging, right, none of that's going to occur. And it's like at this high level, let's talk about it as Jacob's ladder, at this high level where we're going up a few rungs and we're trying to climb this ladder of consciousness where we want to get above the battleground and have a view of the whole thing for a second. It's like, all right, let me put my whole self in, whatever comes, because I'll tell you this, your karma is your karma, okay? Whether that plays out in your supermarket on a physical sense or in your daily doings, or whether it plays out in some kind of Course in Miracles group with a bunch of higgledy-piggledy, right? It is better for you to do the higgledy-piggledy of the mind, okay? Because out in the world, that's where everything gets real. The rubber hits the road and karma can come at you like anything, right? You can burn up your karma or heal your karma, whatever you want to call it. And it's really more of a dissociation because you're habituated to associating with it. But you can do that in mind, right? So the course is constantly directing you to withdraw your external referencing and to go through the whole process of atonement internally, right? Now, initially, when you start this, and it's like we're in the beginning stages, initially when you start the course, because you are habituated to external referencing, the course uses your external references. Look around this room. I think I see a pencil, all those sorts of things, right? Look at this cup. How do you know if it'll break if you know, except by your own thoughts? And then gradually that transition as you do the lessons occurs, and you start to realize that you're actually processing things internally rather than having to go through the experience of actually dropping the cup. Does that make sense? So it's really, if you can see that, you can't, it's like Donna, when you said, what is it? Pain is unavoidable, and how you react to it is your choice or something like that, right? When you can see that it's your choice, right? And Buddha says that life is pain. If you really understood life is pain, you'd be totally there right now. But if you can see that it's your choice, you would automatically choose, if you had a moment of sanity, to do this in the mind. Because falling down the stairs in your mind is a lot less painful than falling down the stairs in your experience in the physical platform. Does that make sense? That's about as simple as I can put that as far as an analogy goes, right? In your mind, in your own thinking, you have all these cause and effect relationships. You have thoughts you love and thoughts you don't like, I love thoughts about being at the beach, and then I don't like thoughts about being at my friend's place who's so annoying or whatever, right? And you have all these thoughts, and you balance one off against the other. You project one out into the world, and the other one you sort of try to hang on to it for a second because it makes you feel good, okay? And Jesus is saying, well, none of those thoughts are your real thoughts. None of them are the thoughts you think with God, but let's look at them where they are. They're in your mind. So if you were to sit in your own thinking for a minute, and which is like basically where we do our meditative thing, if you sit with it in your own thinking, you can look reasonably, right? And reasonably is the word that I want to use to couch this. You can look reasonably at your thinking and follow it to its nth degree, follow it to where it leads, right? Going to my friend's place, this, that, and the other, going to beach, this, that, and the other, they all lead to death. Right? When you follow them to their logical conclusion, you all end up with you dying at the end of it. Okay? So none of those thoughts are going to be helpful to you, but in seeing that, in being willing to see that, you can do it in your own mind rather than have to experience it in the physical platform. All right? You don't have to actually go around to your friend's house, sit there on the couch and be bored to death by them telling you about their kids and whatever, and then have to come home and go, "Ooh, that was heavy. I need to download for a second." All right, those sorts of things. Or going to the beach so you can offset, not having to be at your friend's house and all of those sorts of things. Does that make sense? Ida? Right. So when I add you to that group, and it was only you, I didn't add everybody else. Right? I want to activate you. I want to get you active. All right. I want to get you engaging in this in a place where you're like, what the fuck? Why did you add me to this group? Look at all these.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Because I'm running away from that.
Right. Don't run away from it. Run away from it if you want. You have free will. You can do whatever you want, but you got to stop to think for a second. Why did he add me to this group? All right. Why did he add me to this group? This group is terrible. Look at all these people. They're all backstabbing each other and calling each other names and blah, blah, blah. It's like, perfect. That's where I want you to be, in that energy. Because that's active. It's not active. It's not active in the sense where if you actually engage with it and participate in it, that's not particularly helpful to the max degree it could be. But hopefully you'll see it. Like all those guys that back and forth about this and that. And I've been in threads where I've been down the rabbit hole of spiritual ping pong with people. And it's like, I know that somewhere in that happening, somewhere in that back and forth, that ping pong, there's either going to be a miracle or we're both going to just decide what's the point of this. We're just going around and around the mulberry bush. Right. But at some point, usually, because I open my mind and I'm like, come on, God, where's the miracle here? Where's the miracle here? And I'm trying to keep an open mind to it. Something occurs, right? And it's always like one of those light bulb moments and you go, and you get to see your own healing and you get to see however it is the other response is. Sometimes they tell you, fuck you, I'm out of here, whatever. Don't worry about that, all right? But literally those argumentative, what would you call it? Those, everybody likes to think that because we're spiritual now, that we should be peaceful and loving towards each other. And yes, in a perfect world, let's be peaceful and loving towards each other. But we've got to go through our process. We've got to do the work. And that's the ugly part of being a spiritual, what would you call it? Aspirant. Right? It's the bit of looking in the mirror that nobody likes to do. It's the bit of seeing where it is that I'm sabotaging my own best interests and all that sort of stuff. No one likes that work. Who the hell would like doing that? You look in the mirror and you see what a possessive, manipulating, controlling, backstabbing, all of these sorts of things. But you need to be honest, about one of those things to be able to see how it shifts. Okay? Just one of those things. If you take responsibility for one thing you see in someone else, in you, and heal that in you, it'll flip. And everything else is like dominoes, right? Because you've seen it once, everything else, next time you come into a reflection you don't like, or something shows up in a relationship that causes you anxiety or whatever, it'll be like dominoes. You'll be like, oh, hang on, I did this last time. This is just me. Let me put my finger on my nose. Let me heal what it is I don't like about this course group or this relationship or this situation, whatever. And it'll go exactly the same way. All right. You'll have a little shift, a little shift, a little shift. And then before you know it, you'll be walking down the street or going to your friend's place, sitting on their couch, and you'll walk out of there and you won't feel like you've got to run to the beach to get the relaxation. Does that make sense? Toxic relationships, those sorts of things. It's like they're all good. Don't try to avoid them. Those things are all good. Use them. Use them as the opportunities to take a step into atonement for yourself. All right. There's no point building boundaries in this, because what are you going to build a boundary against if everything is love? If everything is God, what are you going to build a boundary against? What kind of toxic relationship or what kind of situation is there that exists in the world that is not anything more than a reflection of your own thinking about it? Okay, because it's only your own thoughts that tell you where you are, what's going on and whatever. You're not reacting to the relationship. You're reacting to your thoughts about it. It's like, oh, hang on a minute. You mean if I stop listening to my own thoughts about this, maybe something's going to occur that's going to propel me further in my own efforts at self-understanding. Yes, that's what I'm telling you. Exactly what I'm telling you. Judge not. Okay. But in the interim, because our minds are so habituated to judgment, it's like, all right, let's just accept that we're judgmental assholes and just put ourselves in it totally. And like, here I am, in for a penny, in for a pound, and now I need a miracle, right? Otherwise, all we're going to be doing is trying to live in some kind of safety bubble or some kind of zone where the world doesn't affect us. And that's not helpful. You can waste a lot of time in that. It's like, once you see that salvation is the carrot that's being dangled, let's just be about it. However it shows up, right? However it shows up, it doesn't matter. The opportunities are never by coincidence. There's nothing that happens by chance. Everything that occurs, regardless of how that looks like it was set up, regardless of that, is an opportunity, right? I could keep sending you that link for that group every day of the week for the next 10 years. And you'd be like, oh no, I don't want anything. But you would see your own resistance. It's not your resistance to joining that group. It's the fact that you still have resistance, right? If God is everything, then your resistance is to God. Does that make sense? But in the world of form, where we associate with forms and particular shapes and playouts of things, we have to have it show up for us in a way we can recognize. It wouldn't be helpful if you couldn't recognize why anything was happening to you, right? This is happening to you because it's actually helpful. Of course, you're going to want to run away from it. Nobody wants to face fear. We like to hold it at the distance so we can play that game of separation. Oh no, I don't want to engage with that, because if I engage with that, that will mean something. I'll give it a meaning, and then I'll, if it happens, I'll validate the meaning, and then that'll be another witness to the fearful world that you've made. Right? Good.
Yeah, you're doing the best ever service to me, because it reminds me of my early fights with my mother, and I was always running from reliving or recreating same things because it was horrible. The memory is horrible. So basically,
Right.
pushing me back to that.
I'm not doing anything.
I mean, you're not doing anything. Everything is.
You're getting exactly what you've asked for.
Healing,
Right.
I guess. Happy learner.
Right. Yeah, that's right. So be content to be a happy learner. You guys that weren't at the meeting yesterday, the Zoom meeting we had, at Tina's house, Tina's country. Go back and watch that later. All right. Because that whole meeting was framed around the idea of being a happy learner. I'm not going to repeat it here. You guys go back and watch it if you want to. Right. But I would advise you to want to, because it's like anything you can do in this to stay in this energy, to stay in this frequency is going to be helpful to you. It's better than going down to your friend's place and talking to her about her kids, right? Even though you may still have to do that, but you're going to be doing that for a new purpose, right? But yes, be a happy learner, be at the beginning, always be happy to be. I'm always at the beginning. Lesson 1, nothing I see means anything. How many times a day do I walk out of my house and give something a meaning? All the time. All the time. Right? There's no such thing as being advanced in this or being more enlightened than someone else. You can have an experience of your enlightenment, but it doesn't mean that you're more than anyone else in the sonship, but it also doesn't mean you're less than anyone else in the sonship. Think of it like a team. You know, we're like a team. There's the captain. Jesus is the captain. There's a captain. There's guys that play on the outside bits and guys that play in the middle, and everyone has their role to do. But at the end of the day, we're joining in the game, not look at me, I've got number 7 on my back, and look at you, you're number 3 or whatever. You know, it doesn't, none of that means anything. So you give it the meaning it has. I give it the meaning it has. That's how I learn. That's how you learn. But you have to learn that's how that you rented lips. You have to learn that that's how you learn. Does that make sense? Your learning is unlearning. Your learning is I'm learning to learn. You can't learn how to learn from the ego, because it only wants to just lead you round and round and round again and again and again. You have to learn how to learn from the Holy Spirit, right? Which is very simple, really. It's listen, learn, and do. But are you going to listen? No. Why? Because you have resistance. You want to run away. Like you said, that relationship with your mother, and you'll find that relationship will play itself out throughout the entirety of your human experience again and again and again in one form or another. Right? If you were able to take a snapshot of every particular situation you've been in for your whole life, you'll see, oh, look, there, I ran away there, I ran away there, I ran away there, I ran away there. All those opportunities to learn how to learn. But prior to that, you didn't have the technology. Okay? You didn't have the technology to learn how to learn. So in this energy, we're actually being told what the technology is. Hey, Pam. In this energy, we're being told what the technology is, right? We're like little kids. It's like, hang on a minute, here's 365 instructions. Just to make sure you can't get it wrong. We'll drum it in here again and again and again and again and again. All right, so you got 365 lessons for dummies, and all you got to do is follow the instructions. It's not difficult, it's just different. Okay, it's not difficult, it's just different. Your world is going to change, right? Not the physical nature of it, but the way you see it. But you've got to be willing for that to occur. You've got to be willing for Vinka to turn on her camera and join the meeting. You've got to be willing for that to occur. And you're not going to be willing for that to occur until you see how unwilling you are. Okay? I see that I keep running away. I see that I keep saying no. I see that I keep trying to work this out on my own terms and run my own show in salvation. Right? Somebody sends me a link to join a group and I'm like, nah, that's crazy. Look at the jigsaw puzzle of that group. Blah. And I'll give myself every reason not to say yes. Okay. Now, obviously, in a situation that's presenting current danger, you're not going to say yes. But wherever possible, wherever it seems reasonable to you, yeah, why not? Oh, there's Vinka. Hey, are you driving as well? You guys are like the daredevils of salvation. Look at the road. Don't look at me. We can't hear you because your microphone's turned off, thank goodness. All right. But look at all those opportunities that are presented to you, right? And now that you're aware of it, I'm not going to send you that link again, but you're going to be aware of the next time you're invited to join something. It's not about the joining of something. It's about the yes. It's about that willingness to say yes and to not decide how that ought to look. All right. I just say yes to my brother, and then whatever comes from that yes, let it be divine. Let it be miraculous. Even though I may have great resistance to saying yes. All right. But somewhere you're going to take that leap of faith. You're going to take a chance and you're going to take a step and say, yes, I'm going to join that. And then whatever comes out of it, because nothing, right? Everything is God. Nothing can possibly be asked of you unless it is of God. Even if it looks like you're being led into a situation that you are fearful of. But remember, this is a journey into fear. You're never going to get more than you can handle. Okay? And that's where you have to trust. That's where you have to have faith. You're never going to get more than you can deal with. Sometimes you're going to want to go, whoa, put the brakes on, Jesus. Whoa, it's too much, right? Sometimes that happens. And I know this is a really funny thing, right? So some guys will have a shift, and me included. I've done this many times or a few times. I'm learning not to, slowly, right? But sometimes you'll have a shift and you'll be like, wow. And you'll be like, you'll want to tell the whole world and the whole thing, right? Keep it sacred to yourself, whatever. But you'll want to share it. You'll want to talk about it and go, wow, and blah, 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 blah. And it just diffuses it out there. And then the next thing that happens is, give me more of that, Jesus. Yeah, I want more of that. And then 3 days later, whoa, stop, I can't handle it, right? The situations come thick and fast because what you've projected out into the world comes back to you, okay? I've been projecting for 130 billion years. I've been projecting my reality as I see it, not as it is, as I see it out into the world, pretending that that's how actually life is, getting the result of it, which isn't very satisfying. And then now all of a sudden I'm turning that over for divine guidance, but it has to come back to me in a way so I can heal my old stuff, because I can't serve two masters. I can't have my old way of seeing back here and the way that Jesus is trying to get me to see here. I've got to make space in the old filing cabinet so that the files can be filled up with peaceful outcomes for all my situations and events. Is that cool? Yep. All right. So yes, wow, and thank you. And if any situation shows up where you can't say yes, wow, and thank you, then you need help. That's the fourth word. There's 3 words in salvation: yes, wow, and thank you. If you can't say that, if you can't offer those words in any time anything's requested of you or asked of you or presented to you, whatever, then you need help. Help me, Lord. It's not about running away. You might run away, but it's going to come around again because the lesson is repeated until it's learned. Okay? And you're sitting in this energy saying, I want to learn lessons. I want my jaw to be fixed the same way that Donna's jaw was fixed. Right? Or whatever it is, right? It's always going to be the catalyst. The body is always going to be the catalyst for you looking at that idea of healing. My jaw, my arm, my legs, my knee, Alana's having another operation. All these things are going to be the catalyst. Oh, there you go, plaster cast. And show you where it is in your mind you need a miracle. It's like, oh, pain is an erroneous perception, but I'm experiencing pain. Therefore, somewhere my perception of myself and the universe and, my relationship with the whole is out of accord. This is an opportunity for a miracle, not an opportunity for, I know how to fix that. All right. It doesn't mean if you break a leg, don't go and put plaster on it. I mean, obviously, do whatever you got to do. But that in the mind, look at the idea that made manifest that broken leg in the first place. where is it that in my thinking I'm abusing myself, or I'm not giving myself total value, total love? Because this is a course in self-love, loving myself totally. Because look how awesome I am. Body, mind, and soul. Why wouldn't I love this? What's not to love? Right? I'm a child of God, just as you're a child of God. I'm perfect, just as you're perfect. Now, when I tell you you're perfect, it may bring up other ideas. Oh, well, I'm not perfect. I remember when I did this, ooh, you know, and you'll have all these moments of guilt or regret or whatever shows up, however it shows up for you. Right? Don't run from those moments. Use those moments. It's like, hang on a minute. I've just found a whole pocket of guilt here about something I think I did when I was a kid or whatever. I can offer that to the Holy Spirit. I can give that to God for healing, because that's a false idea about myself. It has no valid reference point if my truth is eternal. Okay? The screen's all changed. It's funny, I'm looking, oh, there you are, bottom left. So all of these things. And if I was you, where did she go? Ida, she's run away again. Look at that. That didn't take long. But use the situations that are given to you. Use the situations that are presented. My relationship with my mother would be a really good starting point. Right? And I don't want to get all Freudian and, you know, tell me about your relationship with your mother. I don't want to go there. I don't know if that's how Sigmund Freud actually spoke, but you get the idea what I'm trying to say. All right. So that relationship with your mother, that relationship with your whatever, and you'll see it carried out. Of course, obviously you leave the family home, and then the situation with your boyfriend, the situation with your partner or girlfriend or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's going to show up again. Resistance. Right? And the resistance is always going to be to looking in the mirror, to putting your finger on your own nose. There's nothing else going on here. Nothing else going on, unless you think there is. I'm telling you, there's not. I know there's not. I've banged my head against that brick wall so many times. It's like I have to wear a beanie because this protects me from, you know, there's nothing else going on. Put your finger on your nose and super glue it like on the end of your nose. So the next time that you want to tell someone what you think's going on for them and the whole thing, and you did this and you're responsible, not me. That's right. Keep it there, Lisa. I'm the dreamer of my dream. I am the dreamer of my dream. What I see is me. It's a reflection of my own state of mind, not someone else's. Right? It's a total reflection. And you know the good thing about that, how you can't fuck this up? The mirror never lies. The mirror never lies. It's like a photograph. A photograph, you can't look at a photograph and go, that's not me. You may not like the photograph of you in that case, but it's still you as you find yourself. The mirror never lies. That jealous person, that manipulating person, that whatever, you wouldn't know what those things were unless they were frames of reference in your thinking that keep you tethered to a temporal identity. They're all bodily associations. How do you know what jealousy is? Jealousy only occurs between the idea of bodies or body association. How do you know what greedy is? How do you know what manipulative, controlling? I'm all of those things. I'm a total, what do you call it? Parody of my own true self. And you have to be that. You have to accept that. You have to invite it in, allow it in, and let yourself undergo the often traumatic realization that it's me. All right? At the beginning, it's always traumatic. You can't avoid it. It's obvious. You don't come to A Course in Miracles because everything's great. You don't go to rehab because you're not an alcoholic. It's obvious. I'm an alcoholic. I need help. All right. Hey, John. Woohoo. So, allowing yourself to be totally human. I'm all the reflections there is. I'm totally human. I'm an arsehole. I'm manipulative. I'm all of this shit. But I also have all these other things that I like about myself, where I'm caring and I'm all these other things as well. But none of those things represent what I am. They're just characteristics of an identity based in a dream, right? Jesus says in the Course that your dark thoughts will be taken care of for you. You know, we'll erase them completely. But some of your thoughts reflect the nature of love as an extension of will. And so those thoughts, we can work with them and just sort of purify them, clean them up a bit, right? And make them more useful to you. And you'll see that as they become more and more inclusive of the brotherhood or of the sonship or of the unity, right? You'll see that occurring in you. You'll be like, wow, I'm starting to think of everyone as my family. I'm starting to actually have that not just as thoughts, but as a loving action in my heart. I'm starting to feel it at the supermarket rather than just putting my groceries on that conveyor belt. How you going? Blah, blah, blah. And then see you later. I'm actually starting to feel something in connection with the people, situations, and events around me. And if you want to call that empathy for a second, you can. But I'm actually starting to feel like I'm connecting, right? Don't try to manipulate it and work it out exactly. Just enjoy the feeling. Just enjoy the feeling. Be grateful for it. It's like, wow, it feels nice to actually love everybody. Because at the bottom of your heart, that's what we truly want, just to love and be loved. We are here to love. We are here to be loved. Right? But the process of finding ourselves in that frame of mind is forgiveness. I'm going to forgive myself for all those things that I think love is and should look like, and all those things that I think love isn't and shouldn't look like, because I don't know what the hell love is at all. Right? If you don't have a reference, if you don't have an out-of-time experience that shows you the truth of love, then it's better and more honest to say, I don't know what love is. Right? I don't know what unconditional love is. I like it as an idea. It sounds lovely as a concept, but then you put bloody Vladimir Putin on my television set, and that's going to be a difficult stretch for me. You know, you put starving kids in Africa on my thing, and that's going to be a difficult stretch for me to extend unconditional love, because why are these kids starving? Who's not doing something? All of this, and the external referencing goes on and on and on and on and on. Right? There's no escape in that, but at least you can begin to see in the framework of the external referencing how it is that your mind is changing in regard to your relationship with it. Right? And just enjoy it. How nice is it? It's like in that 20-minute book, I will begin to see in everyone my dearest friend. Right? In those lessons that we do all the time, which we're now going to start doing here. I'll begin to see in everyone my dearest friend. Imagine if you went into a business meeting with someone across the board table and saw your dearest friend, and you had no expectation or idea of an outcome of getting the better of that business meeting. You just wanted them to be happy. Now, in Japan, funnily enough, that's how it is. You know, Japanese businessmen, they won't deal with you unless you're their friend. They won't deal with you unless they get a sense of your character, unless they understand who you are as a person. They don't care how good the deal on the table is. If they don't like you, if they think you're an idiot or a greedy or out to do them in, they won't touch you. Because they have this thing called honor. They have this thing called integrity, which they really abide by. But in the West, right, the course is made for Western minds. In the West, oh, yeah, honor and integrity. We'll get to that later. There's $1 million going on the table here. I want it. I'll do whatever, you know, and then we'll talk about forgiveness. Right? That gets nothing. All that does is one failed thing after another, and you can have all the money in the world. You still ain't going to be happy. All right, where we at here? Lisa, what's going on with you? I like your duvet there. That looks very comfortable.
I'm an on, I know nothing. That's it.
No, that's a lie.
No, it's not. I don't know anything.
Uh-uh.
I'm the
you-
village idiot, village idiot.
Oh, that's more honest. Yeah. But you've got a whole filing cabinet of things that you do know in there. So let's not pretend we don't know anything. Right? Let's open up some of those files and look at the things we think we know about things, and then we can do some healing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. It's easy to use a concept and say, I know nothing, you know. And I remember my friend Brian, I've told this story a few times. He went to see Sai Baba, and I don't even know if Baba's still alive, but he went to see Sai Baba, and Sai Baba walks down the promenade every morning to the temple where he teaches, and all the new people are in the front that come to the ashram. All the new people stand in the front like a big long row. There's hundreds and hundreds of people, and he blesses them all and everything. And Brian said that when it came to him, he was so petrified, right? Now, this is a guy that represents, or supposed to represent, unconditional love and the pathway and all of that sort of thing. He was so petrified as he passed by that Sai Baba picked up on it and made him open his hand and manifested a little pewter ring with a picture of Sai Baba in it, which I think is kind of funny, and then kept going, right? Everybody else didn't get a ring, but Brian was emanating fear. But he knew that Brian was holding back. He wasn't in that loving. So when you tell me I know nothing, I know you're holding back, because you wouldn't be here if you weren't in fear, right? If you were completely free of that idea of fear, if you were completely living in the light, you'd be like Course in Miracles, oh, that's say 20 years ago, and you'd be out there sowing the seeds of love in your community in a way where you couldn't be compromised, in a way where your integrity was beyond being able to be shot down in flames. Okay? So learning is our most important thing. Learning how to learn. And that's where we're at. Chantel, where you at?
You mean where I am spacious-wise here, or you mean where I'm at with my unlearning?
Good. Yeah. That.
I think I know a lot.
Right. See, that's more honest than Lisa. Lisa's trying to kid us. She's trying to trick us.
And I'm trying to figure things out, and it's not working for me.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Stick around.
And I keep asking for guidance.
Good. So the honesty is in the fear. All right. In this world, the honesty is in the fear, admitting to your fear, admitting to your confusion, admitting to all that crap. Right. Once you admit to it, it's like, then we can do something about it. Until you're even aware of it, what are you going to do? Just sit in one Course in Miracles meeting after another after another? This has got to be active in you. This has got to be something that gets you up in the morning, that makes you want to join and read the 20-minute book and come to Zoom meetings and whatever. There's got to be this draw. There's got to be this sort of like, I feel something here. If you don't, then what are you doing here? You know, you've got to feel it. You've got to have that kind of, you know, but you can't have that until you realize how full of shit you are. It's like, oh, I'm totally full of shit. I need a miracle. Right? People who don't know anything don't need a miracle. It's
Well,
like,
I thought I was in Thinkaholics Anonymous, because that's my real problem, is I'm a thinkaholic.
right. Yeah. See, there's a little bit of honesty there. You just sort of chipping in. What's that going on? We got some music playing. So Chantel, give me some specifics here. Let's pick on you for a minute. We've done Donna. I'm going to come back to maybe. Gemma's looking like, hope he doesn't pick on me.
There's many things I can talk about.
All right. Ready? Close your eyes for a second. Close your eyes. Take a breath. And ask yourself from your heart, what's going on for me right now? One thing. What's going on for me right now? Try to get a sense of honesty. Try to be honest.
Yeah, there's a sense of unworthiness going on. And it's reflected in my relationship with my non-binary child. And they don't like hugs.
Is that what's a non-binary child? I'm old.
Oh, they're not identified with either being a boy or a girl. So it's nothing to do with sex, but with identity. Yeah. But they don't like hugs, and I love hugs. And it brings up feeling of unworthiness in me.
Is this person a teenager?
13, but this has been happening the last 3 years. Probably for the last 3 years. Yeah. So it's a beautiful mirror.
Right. So use it as a mirror too. That's good that you can see it as a mirror. Right. But if it's unworthiness, right? So you've got your sense of unworthiness and God's promise that you are worthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Choose. You have to choose, right? Yes. As you choose, so it will be for you. As you choose, so it will be for you. Whilst you insist on dwelling on the unworthiness, you're validating. Okay. When you choose to accept God's promise of your worthiness, because if God is everything, that includes you, right? In the form, out of the form, doesn't matter, right? One is true, one is not true. You choose, right? You're always being called upon to choose for God. In any given situation, choice seems to present itself. And now I'm presenting you an opportunity to make that choice again.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm choosing that.
Right, good. Now, you're choosing that, okay? That's your declaration. Everybody here has heard that. Everybody heard that you're choosing for God. The next thing that's going to happen is your non-binary child is going to refuse the next hug that you want to offer, right? And you're going to see where you feel about that, all right? That's going to tell you how honest you were in making that choice.
Oh yeah, no, I can tell you, I've made that choice many times, and a lot of times it's there, and then it wavers again, and then it goes. So I'm swiveling between God and the ego a lot.
You're on the fence.
Yeah.
Right. So give up the world and follow me. Right. You can't sit. You're either in or you're out. I have a 13-year-old daughter, and she's exactly the same. She doesn't like hugs. She used to. She used to come screaming into my bedroom first thing in the morning as soon as she was awake and bounce on my bed and just about flatten all the air out of my lungs. Now it's like, Dad, you know, like I'm 13 now, you know, as if that's a thing. So, but I've had to accept that she's learning in her own way, just as I'm learning in my own way. Her way is still engaging the world, validating the body and whatever it is, that's fine. I can look at that as my idea of what I think she is, or I can see beyond that to the divinity in her. Yeah, right. But I have to include it in. I have to allow both things to come, because otherwise I can't heal it in my own mind, right? So your unconditional acceptance of your brother, or in this case, your non-binary child playing that part, is where it's at for you. It's not your unworthiness. Your unworthiness is just a reaction.
Yeah.
Okay. It's acceptance. Once you accept it as it is, it'll no longer bother you.
Yeah.
Okay. And it'll no longer manifest as unworthiness being the reaction that you have to that relationship. All right. But it's like, good luck with it, because I know it's going to be one of those ones, especially teenagers. They're going to, you know, it's like that old saying, if you want to see how enlightened you are, go and spend a week with your family.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
They're gonna
definitely see it as a gift, right?
Right. Good. I
Yeah.
can tell you that you're lying about that, but you're not going to hear that from me at this moment.
Fair enough.
There's a place, right? This will be funny. Alana will totally back me up on this one. There's a place in you where you just want to bitch slap the hell out of your non-binary kid and get that hug, right?
Maybe.
Right. Maybe is yes, right? That's the place you got to go to where acceptance is needed.
Yeah.
Let yourself go into that fearful place that you don't really want to look at. I just want to grab my kid by the shoulders and shake the shit out of him. Just give him a hug. Right? That's in there. The tip of the iceberg, however, is playing spiritual with it and wanting to be coarse, right? Oh, I'm trying to accept it. I'm trying to be holy. I'm trying to be all spiritual about it and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, no, let's get to the ugly bit. Let's just go right down where it's actually at and stop using the course to try and mask our true feelings about any given situation. Because the true given feelings about any given situation is, I want to kill. I want to murder, kill, destroy, crush, you know, that's where I go with it, right? You got to look at that, not in relationship to your child, in relationship to you and your relationship to the whole. Right. So Wesley's been looking at, and I don't know where he's at with it now, but like probably had a miracle, but hey, looking at that idea of the anger, right? It's like, man, we don't want to look at that. We don't want to look at our anger, but we get triggered, and a little bit, like keeps niggling away that, you know, those situations. And it's like, we keep trying to put it aside. Eventually you realize you can't put it aside. I'm bloody furious. I'm pissed off. I'm furious. I'm upset about this. I'm going to have a meltdown. I feel like I'm going to have a stroke about it, whatever it is, right? But it's like, you got to get to that threshold point with every relationship. Some goes deeper than others. A little relationship that you have with the guy at the checkout at the supermarket who's always got a smarmy look on his face and just like, whatever. You can fob that off easy. It doesn't run too deep because you know you don't have any real specific commitment. You can go to a different supermarket if you have to, right? It might be annoying, but you can get out of it. It's like Ida, you can run away, right? When it's your own kid, you can't run away. You have this parental kind of lock that tells you, I'm the parent. This is my child. I have to represent the best of whatever it is I can offer here in this situation and try to be the example of it, right? You're locked in for the whole ride, and that can run deep. Now, I don't know what it is. I don't know how deep this particular thing goes for you, but I know it gets uglier than you're allowing it to be right now, or you wouldn't be here either. Right, thumbs up. So, and maybe don't play it out with your kid because they probably won't understand. But like, you know, when people go to, pardon me, what do they call it? Retreats and things like that. There's a good one that, I don't know if you have it there in England, Vipassana, which is a Buddhist one where you get to sit just for 3 days, 5 days. I think they even do a 10-day one. They do it here, where you just sit in silence for a period, looking at your own thoughts and allowing yourself to undergo whatever the process that you're looking at to its nth degree in a safe sort of environment. If you can find a space for that, it's like, I had to pray for it when it happened for me. I really had to pray when I had to look at my anger about it, particularly, and it's a few Zooms back, but I had to pray that when I finally did look upon my anger, that I wasn't going to do anything stupid, because I know that anger is uncontrollable. You can't really control it. If you can control it, it's not anger. Right? Because it literally is an expression of that which is uncontrolled, that which has no direction, that which is completely just abstract. Right? It'll come out and you know, Adolf Hitler, was he angry? I don't know. Any dictator, it's like, what are you angry about there? But you have to go right to the bottom. And it's like, if you haven't yet used any of those references for yourself, they're incredibly helpful. You know, I had many actually. Pol Pot was a big one for me. I had to look at Pol Pot, and it's like, how can that guy do that to his own people? And it's like, I'm not separate from what I see in that. Let me look at that honestly and feel how I really feel about it. Right? It was pure cold fear. When I sat with it, it was cold, freezing cold fear. Right? And I had to heal it in my own mind. I couldn't find it as a specific reference. Fear manifests as anger, fear manifests as whatever. It was like just unbridled, cold, like imagine the bottom of the ocean, cold, kind of like fear. And I healed it from there. I'm like, all right, I have no use for this fear. Right? Because it comes up and it manifests as all sorts of things. Usually we only tap in at the top, at the surface. We look at the tip of the iceberg. But I'm telling you, with this situation, let yourself go deeper with it. Try to feel how deep it runs. Because when you get to the bottom of that pit, the bottom of that threshold, that's where the miracle is. There's no point, if you get hit by a car, there's no point the doctor fixing half of your injuries. We want to fix the whole lot. We want to do a total healing. Right? You don't want it to have to show up again. It's like if you leave a weed, when you pull a weed out of the ground, we have this weed here called sensitive weed, and it's covered in little tiny thorns. And if you step on it, the leaves all close up, but the thorns are really sharp, right? When you pull, the only way to get rid of it, you can't spray it with a poison, nothing. The only way is to pull it out by the root. If you leave a bit of that root in, it's going to regrow. You may not recognize it initially, but it regrows. This is the same with healing. I'm going to offer the Holy Spirit the totality of my relationship, right, which shows up as me and my daughter or me and my non-binary child in this framework, which is going to lead me down the rabbit hole to how I actually feel, to where my actual, what would you call it, origins of this conflict begin, right? So with Ida, she saw it goes right back to her mother, right? And I'm not saying you have to track it back to your mother. That's a terrible reference, really. But you'll find that it runs deeper than just what's being presented on the surface, right? So sit with that, and then good luck. Good luck sounds like just a bit of a fob off there, you know, but like, you're entitled to a miracle. When you get to where it's really at, remember you're entitled to a miracle. You don't have to go to that total unworthiness where you go looking for a razor blade to like open your wrists, you know. It's like, it gets ugly like that. That's the good stuff. Safwan.
Thanks, Dave. Well, you just got me in time because I got to go soon.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Safwan, what's happening?
Like, personally,
Of course.
well, a couple of things, but there's one that I don't really feel safe mentioning, but there's another one that is just, it's something I've been feeling since I was a kid, which is just, procrastination and just being lazy. Right now, I want to get into real estate, and I have a job in it, in brokerage. And I want my job right now, they told me to study real estate. And I haven't really been doing that. I haven't really been dedicated to study. So I don't know why, but I always procrastinate. You know, of course. Because, like, I'll do other stuff. Like, I'll go to a garden and build beds. I'll study anything else. But the thing that I am supposed to be doing, main thing, I don't really do it. That's really it right now. I don't feel comfortable
All
sharing.
right. So let's talk about the other thing that you don't feel comfortable sharing. All right. And I'm going to, we can talk about the real estate. I can tell you that you don't really want to get into real estate, because if you did, you'd be doing it. You'd just be doing it. You'd be doing whatever it takes. You'd be there. You'd find yourself on the job. The reason you don't want to get into real estate is because there's actually something other than that going on that you're attempting to get into, which I'm going to tell you you're already into. It's already happening to you. It's already knocking on the door, waiting for you to say yes. But you're playing this game in your mind with procrastinating, and you're telling yourself all these things about yourself that are preventing you from actually seeing where you're at, right? Now, in the place where you feel uncomfortable about talking about things, that's where it's at, all right? Everything else. If I said to you, you've got a ladder in front of you and there are 4 rungs on the ladder, or 5, whatever, 50, doesn't really matter. If I said to you, there are rungs on the ladder, let's talk about those rungs. You're only going to want to talk about the ones at the top where the view's better. You're not going to want to talk about the ones that go down into the muck and the mire in the basement and all of that. But that ladder, being able to get to the top and stay at the top, depends upon all of those rungs. You can't bypass one, you can't get out of it, right? So looking at that idea of Kevin and Vinka, oh, there we are, there's Vinka. Kev, turn on your camera, please. Vinka, are you still driving? Being willing, and I'm not saying you have to talk about what you feel uncomfortable talking about here, not at all. I mean, this is totally free will, you do whatever you like. But I'm telling you that there's a point of honesty. You don't feel comfortable in talking about it because of how you think it's going to react, how it's going to come back at you, right? And what you think that means. But yet you're the only one who's given it the meaning. I can tell you there's so much things that I don't want anyone to know, right? I'm 56, 7, 8, whatever I am. There's so many things in here, right? Which could manifest out there, had I not found A Course in Miracles, that are ugly, horrible, uncomfortable things that you don't talk about in public, things you don't really express in a social climate, all that sort of stuff. But I also know every single person in this Zoom room has the same stuff, right? It shows up in different ways. Being honest about our stuff. You go to a meeting, right? You go to an AA or an NA or a rehab meeting, and you sit in one of those circles and everybody's sharing. You may not feel like sharing for a long time, but you start to listen to everyone's stories about the catastrophe that their lives have been, and you start to realize that you're not different, you're not special, you're not separate. Everyone's the same. I've had people tell me they've been raped, they've been beaten up. I even had someone who told me that they've been kidnapped and held as a sex slave. You know, things like that, all sorts of stuff. It's like, man, God bless you, but you got to get to that point, because the real estate story is built on the one you don't want to talk about. Okay, everything. You can't skip a step and then hope to fulfill all the rest. All right, the journey proceeds in a logical manner, in a manner that you can recognize. It's like people tell me, oh, this, that, and the other happens to me, whatever. And then I know automatically when they go to the next thing, they're not looking at the this, that, and the other. All right. Everything in my mind, everything is an opportunity for healing. Everything. And the more you don't want to look about it, the more you want to keep it covered, hidden, secret, don't feel comfortable, whatever, the better that healing is going to be. Right? I don't need to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But you need to be able to hear yourself in that place, because that place is the place where healing is available to you. And it's going to like rocket you up through all the other things. And you'll find that, fuck real estate. I don't even, I want to be a circus clown, or I want to be a own video store. Or I don't even think people have those anymore, but whatever, or I want to go and breed horses and train horses, maybe, whatever. Real estate is something that you're using to avoid looking at the other stuff, right? The surface story is what it is you're playing around with, so you don't have to be real with your own healing. And the only reason I'm saying that is because the purpose of this meeting is healing. We don't have another purpose. We're not here to promote spiritual principles to help you have a better life in the world. We're here to undo the crap of the one that you're trying to use life in the world to escape from. I guarantee you've got lifetimes of playing out the same scenario, lifetimes of playing out the same cause and effect relationships that you don't want to talk about because you feel it's hopeless. You feel there's no solution possible. You feel that there's just nothing there but a void and emptiness. And it'll be like, where did she go? Feels unworthy, all of that sort of stuff. All that ugly stuff is down there, right? And it's down there deeper than you're even going to let yourself admit. The ego is very good at covering it over and pretending it's not quite so bad. I can deal with it. If I just focus on my real estate, it won't bother me, right? But literally, the key to your happiness is being willing to heal where healing is needed. And the Holy Spirit will go there with you, right? You don't have to relive those moments, but that emotionality, all of that, you have cause and you have effect. The cause is your thinking, okay, erroneous thinking. The effect is how that makes you feel, right? Every thought has an emotional thing. You bring them together. You don't have to look at the cause, but you have to allow yourself to feel it, right? I would never ask someone who'd been violently raped to go back and relive that scenario in their thinking. But the idea of how you feel about it is going to bring up what needs to happen. All right. And everyone is capable of doing that because we're constantly doing that all the time. It doesn't matter what the catalyst is. We're feeling stuff or we're trying not to feel stuff. So I'm going to say to you, when we do our light session in a minute, try to get a sense of feeling that and allowing that feeling to be honest. Feel how you feel about what it is that you don't want to expose, you don't want to talk about. Let yourself go there emotionally. You don't have to relive it. You don't have to look at it. Just, it's like if I said to you, burning your hand on the hot plate, you don't have to do that. You can imagine how that would feel. That's like, damn, that's bad. I don't like it. It makes me feel a certain way, like, ow, right? Or if I said being threatened in the school hall by a bully or something like that, you can imagine that feels pretty crap. You don't have to actually go and feel threatened by a bully to imagine how that feels. You can just, you know, does that make sense? So all these...
I wanted to ask you because I talked to Clint about it too. He recommended me to do Sedona or the 4 steps. I don't know if you're familiar with Sedona and the 4 steps or not, but
No.
it's a way to let go of false ideas. Sedona, basically, you stay with the feeling and you let it go. The only problem I have with that is that I feel like if I stay with it too long, I have this fear that it won't go, or it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger and manifest in the world. I'm not really have the faith that it'll go away and it'll be released.
Right. So maybe you can look at some smaller situations to build your faith. Okay. And maybe one of those would be to let go of the real estate idea and just see what comes. Right now, when you let go of that real estate idea and see what comes, it's going to put you into a moment of anxiety because you've been telling yourself you want to get into real estate. What if you let it go? Then there's going to be this void. There's going to be this little emptiness where you thought real estate would fulfill you, right? I'm telling you, experience that emptiness. Let yourself have it. Don't adjust to it when it comes up. It's like a pregnant pause in a group conversation. Don't adjust to it by talking about the weather, right? When you let go of real estate and you start to feel empty inside again because you've been filling yourself up with false identity markers, you know, like called real estate or called wealth and happiness and on your own terms, don't adjust to that emptiness when it rises up again, because you'll just be tempted to want to manifest something else. Oh, maybe I don't want to get into real estate. Maybe I want to get into aerotechnic space exploration or something, whatever, you know. and you'll fill up the gap again. Right now, these are just little things on the surface that you can begin to have experiments, if you like, with faith about. I'm going to confront that void. I'm going to confront that emptiness I feel when I let go of being a real estate agent or whatever, and let something else happen that's not of my own making. Right? When that something else happens, something else is going to show up. Maybe it'll be still real estate, or maybe it won't. But your head will be in the game. Why? Because you've healed that sense of lack. You've healed that sense of emptiness that situation represents, that sense of confusion, that sense of when you say one thing, you know, flip-flopping around, say one thing and do another. I forget the word you used, but it was the right word.
So when we do the light session, this is gonna be recorded, so I can keep going back to that and using that to let go of the ideas too, right? And the void and everything. Is that correct? Because I don't know how to do it by myself, really.
Yeah, you do actually. But anyway, in a sense, yes, you can use, if you record this, you can use it as a reference, but you don't want to turn that into a ritual. Okay, you don't want to go, aha, that's the way, because it's not the way. The miracle is the way. All right, and you can't define, can't describe, can't work out what the miracle is. It's a miracle because, you know, that's it. So when we do our light session in a minute, sit with the real estate idea. Right? It's all false. There's no Safwan, the real estate agent, never has been, never will be. There's only God. Right? But it's the same with whoever it was. You've got the idea of you as a real estate agent here, and you've got the idea of you as God created you here. And you're choosing, which one do I want in this situation? When you choose the right one, that situation is still going to play out. But the one that benefits you the most, the outcome that benefits you the most is going to be the one that shows up, not the one that comes from your doubt, not the one that comes from vacillation and fear. Does that make sense? Right. Eventually, you'll get to the point where you're sick and tired of not looking at the one that you don't want to talk about. Right. And then beyond that is the one that you really don't want to talk about. The one where you think you actually denied God. That's the deep one, right? But it's like a descending ladder. This is a journey into fear. We're going down into the dark. How far you go at any given time, how much you're willing, how many steps you're willing to take, that's up to you. I'm telling you, you could just take one whole big step right now, but it's like you said, I don't know if I have enough faith for that, right? And I respect that. Faith is its own reward. So get out there and make experiments with faith. You know, I remember making a little experiment with faith before I found the course many years ago. I'd already had an experience of meeting Jesus on the top of Mount Warning. And so I knew, even though I didn't understand life, the universe and everything, I knew there was more going on than I could put my finger on. If I could have an experience of Jesus, I knew that there was a divinity, a heaven, all this sort of stuff. And so I started making experiments with my faith. And one day I had friends in Byron Bay, which was an hour and a half drive from me. I thought, that's not very far. I'll hitchhike. I'll hitchhike all the way, and I'll just have faith that I'll get there and faith that I'll get back, right? So I left my wallet at home. There was no mobile phones in those days, hadn't been invented yet. I left my wallet at home and everything. And I just walked out down the street to the end of the street and stuck my thumb out. I got a lift into town. From town, I walked out to the highway, and I walked out to the highway. There was a big shady tree there. And I stood on the side of the highway with my thumb out going south to Byron Bay. And it was the old highway, right? We have two highways. We have the main one that goes through and then another one. And I was waiting for cars. And all these cars are going by. No one's picking me up. I look like a dirty old hippie, you know, like who the hell's going to pick me up? All these cars are going by. I must have been there for about an hour. And I'm starting to think in my mind, this is my experiment with faith here. It's like, what am I doing wrong? Why aren't I getting picked up by these cars? Right? No one's giving me a lift. And I thought, well, it just occurred to me, I'm going to count 12 cars. If I don't get picked up by the 12th car, I'm just going to walk home. Right? 11 cars went by, and I asked in prayer, right, all right, Father, I've got 12 cars, and then whatever. Right now, in a sense, I'm thinking that I'm trying to preempt God with what I'm trying to do here. But in another sense, I'm holding myself accountable to an idea of faith. I'm giving myself a step that I've told myself it's either going to be God or nothing, right? And so I'm sort of like giving myself this deal with myself. 11 cars went by and didn't pick me up. The 12th car that came by was a white convertible Mercedes-Benz, right, with leather seats. It was the most luxurious ride I ever had, all the way to Byron Bay. And there was a young couple in the front, and they're dressed in like white shirts and white things. And I'm thinking, these guys are sent by God. It was like a chariot of divine, you know, like providence. It wouldn't have surprised me if there was no petrol in the tank and they were running off grace, you know. But it's like we drove all the way to Byron Bay, and the whole way they were talking, and we were all talking together about God and the universe and love and all of this sort of stuff. And they dropped me right at the door, you know. And it's like, I've never forgotten that. But I had to literally leave my wallet, my keys, all my coping mechanisms, or everything. I had to leave it behind. It was like not a pilgrimage, but it was my experiment with faith. You know, it was incredible, and it paid off. And then I can't remember how I got back, but that was that was that moment. And then in other things, I could tell you about other little experiments with faith that I'd made. And these things all added up, right? Faith is its own reward. These things all added up to increase my faith overall, right? I still didn't know how it worked. I still didn't know why in this situation and why not in that situation. But I'd seen again and again and again that I was supported by a higher power, right? Even though I didn't really understand it at the time. But I knew that faith was a part of it. I knew that prayer was a part of it. And I was putting those two things together in the place where it seemed like I didn't really have a choice. It was either this or that. There was no middle ground. I was either going to get my lift or I was going to go home. I didn't have an alternative. I can just call a cab or none of that. So, Alana, you broke your leg again or something. Well, you have an operation? You know, the couch is here. It's like if you need it. The caravan's still there. Somebody came to look at it the other day. The new neighbor next door, I think, wants to put a fence through, and he asked me about how long's the caravan going to be there. And I'm like, yeah, forever. I said, I'm just waiting to see if Alana needs it again. Your microphone's muted. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Vinka's all over the place. Vinka, are you still driving? We're looking up your nose. There she is. Anna's good. Look at you today. You're looking good. Can't see much light on there, but there's a radiance there. All right, Gemma, come on, let's have it.
Hey.
Come on, spill the beans.
Oh, it's been a roller coaster of a week, Dave.
Good.
But yeah, it has been good. Faced into a lot of stuff. The theme being honesty, and what you said about, did you just say denying God? That kind of landed a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, it was all about just realizing where I'm just not, there's something in me, like I can't be honest. I'm thinking, well, after what we touched upon with last week about the relationship, everything being a relationship, your relationship with God. I'm like, oh my, I can't be honest with God. Like what, or a fear of being punished, that's come up. Fear of being punished, fear of being found out, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So really faced into that and the depths of it, crawling my way through that. And then the day after, laughing my head off all day, found
Good.
it hilarious. and then sort of since that, other bits of stuff has kind of come up. So it's been a really like interesting, but yeah, like crazy week.
Good.
But good, yeah.
This is active in you now.
Yeah, massively, yeah.
Right, good. Stay in the energy of it. Stay in the activation of it. You're turning up to all the meetings, you're reading your book, you're doing whatever you can to stay in this frequency. Okay? That's a good thing. And you'll have those moments where you just can't stop laughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the healing. You'll just be laughing for no reason. I used to just be driving my van and I'd be driving along and like I'd be talking to Jesus on the highway and I'd just start laughing and I wouldn't have to pull over, but I would almost have to pull over. Once I had to pull over.
It was the day after, like being like in the depths of all this despair and all this, and then the day after, it was just like a clearing, and a really good friend sort of shared an image. Yep. You may have seen it, but there's this kid in like this what looks like a rushing stream, like holding on to this branch, screaming for his life, and then the mum just walks over and just like picks him up, and it's about that deep. Right. In this puddle, and it's like that's what like that, like it's all going on in here, like there's nothing actually happening. It was the realization of that. Good. It was the realization of that. But yeah, and then since then other stuff's kind of been uncovered. But when you just said then about denial of God, I was like, oh, that's like, yeah, that kind of, I was like, right, okay,
all right, ready,
go for it.
Put your hands up in front of your face. Denial of God.
The
body is the symbol of denial.
Okay.
Right? The body is the symbol of denial. In this energy, we're reinterpreting the purpose of the body and the use of the body so that it actually serves salvation. It actually serves our greater good. But the body was as a vehicle originally to serve the denial of God. Okay? For thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we've been trudging around in bodies, making shit up. All of a sudden, Jesus pops in 2,000 years ago and it's like, oh, there you all are. Here, let's go home. I've got another way for you guys to live. And if you live this way, you can follow me. We can get out of here. Right? It's called salvation. But first you have to realize that you're not in denial. You are what the denial is.
Okay.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, say it again, Dave.
Denial. It's like if there was, let's say, a devil for a second. There isn't, but let's say if there was the devil, it's you. Right? I'm all the devil there is. I'm all the Satan there is. I'm all the whatever there is. Right? There's not denial and then me separate from denial, because that'd be separation within the separation. That's the dream within the dream. We're now in the dream of healing. We're now in the bridge between the worlds. This is a place where we've already begun to look at that idea of healing and take steps. Jesus calls it to the promised land, or to the forgiven world, right? But I'm coming from an experience of myself as the denial. I am the state, not the manifestation of the particulars of that state. My mind operates in a state of denial. Within that, I fabricate a world where I can even be in denial of the fact that I'm the fabricator of my world, right? But my world exists within the denial in its totality. It's like in the urtext, Jesus says, the world was made for you as a platform where you can come to experience yourself and so learn to make better choices. Okay. But the separation is pre the world. The separation is before the world was. It's like a little hole in the fish tank, and a whole bunch of us fish got sucked out, made ourselves a supplementary fish tank, right? Jesus says, you guys have been swimming around in this supplementary fish tank for ages, just come back to the main fish tank. And we're like,
that.
but we don't realize, because we're used to our world as we see it, we don't realize that our fish tank isn't the main fish tank. We just get a sense that something's wrong, that somehow we're separated from the whole, the main fish tank. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
I like imagery.
Good. The hole's been plugged. It never, it's just a dream of being in a separate fish tank, right? Jesus talks about it as, you wanted a world where you could be in charge, where you could usurp God. You've been given the opportunity to have that experience, and also the opportunity to choose again if you didn't like it. You're in this group because you didn't like it. Somewhere you realize there's got to be a better way. You didn't like how things were playing out in the world, and boom, shanka, here you are, Zoom group. Why does it look like Zoom group? Why does it look like anything? You know, what's it meant to look like? But it's like healing proceeds along logical lines, along reasonable lines. But you've got to be able to see where the healing is required in your own mind.
Yeah.
No point in healing stuff if you're not aware of the necessity for it. You'd be like, what the hell's going on to me? I'm losing my mind. I'm going crazy. Right? That wouldn't be helpful. Go to bed one person and wake up another. Go to bed with a locked jaw and wake up in the morning as if you'd never had an injury in your life. Right? That's cool, Donna. That's your declaration. Right? So, I am the denial. All right, keep your finger on your nose there. That manifests as everything that you're going to see in your mirror, right? The world in its entirety, okay, is the domain of the ego. All consciousness is of the ego. Everything you think, hear, smell, touch, taste, see, and do is ego. If it's bodily associated, if it has a temporal association, it's denial. But within that framework, we're now learning to hand over what we once wanted as that experience of denial for unity. Okay. But in every situation you find yourself, I'm the denial of love. I either see love or I'm in denial of it. I either see love or I'm the one projecting fear onto the situation because I want love to look like a certain thing in this, situation. Love can't look like how you want it to look. It has to look like how it is. If that looks like someone yelling at you in the street, that's fine. That's love. If it looks like someone giving you a hug, that's fine. That's love. In this world, love shows up as everything. But because it's an experience of denial, it's an experience of the denial of love actually as it is. It doesn't mean it's not love. It just means that I've chosen that love looks like this, that, or the other, instead of as it is. Does that make sense?
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
If I tell you love is a tennis ball and you're going to see somebody yelling at you in the street, I'm going to tell you, no, tennis ball. You're going to go, that can't be a tennis ball. You told me love was a tennis ball. Right? One of those two things is going to be true. Either it is going to be a tennis ball or it's going to be what you say it is. Right? Now, if you're the denial of love and you've accepted that, why would you try to decide what love looks like? You're the denial of it. How would you know? Right? But in your own mind, in your own thinking, you have experience of saying, oh, this is love. This is love because it makes me feel a certain way. And this can't be love because it makes me feel the opposite of that. Right?
It can all bring us back to love.
Right. In this world of opposites, everything is still love showing up as whatever. It's only you that's and this is bad. This is love and this is not love. Can you hear that?
That's the choice, and isn't it the opportunity to see
That's
someone
the
shouting
choice.
at you
Yep.
in the street, and
Absolutely.
finding that with it, you're feeling, yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Your ideas of what you think love is are just as false as the ideas of what you think love isn't.
Mhm,
Love is not form. Love is content.
mhm.
Love is content. Don't judge the form, apply the principle. Don't judge the form, apply the principle. Right? And all of these things, everything I'm telling you, it's like you'll be walking down the street one day and boom, it'll kick in. You'll hear my voice in your head, or you'll have something from the course or a meme or whatever, and it'll be like, bam, it'll be like a catalyst, and you'll find yourself laughing at everything. Right? That's how this is. That's how it works. Laughter is good. Pam, what's happening? You're at the very bottom. We're getting around.
Me?
Yes, you.
Yeah, I love your talk. It's my first
thank
time.
you.
My first time here.
Oh, cool. Are you doing the course?
Yes.
Excellent. Doing the lessons, or you've done the lessons?
I did the lessons in 2020, and I started again just February. I started them over again. So I'm on I'm on the reviews. I'm in I think lesson 59 today.
Okay. Oh, you'll be in the 60s soon. It's all the forgiveness lessons. That's nice. Very good. How are you going with it? Enjoying it?
Yes, I decided I need to dive in deeper and commit to it, because I bounce around and just flit around sort of the outside of it, touch in now and then, and I realize I'm ready to dive in deeper.
Good. That's everybody. Everybody's like that. It's like we all like to dip a toe and test the water, and just like, ooh, I don't know if I'm ready for that. But good. Welcome home.
Thank you.
Who else we got? Oh, by the way, Pam, you should hook up with Donna, like online. I don't know if Donna, you have something for Pam, and she has something for you. I just got that. Okay, so you guys can click clack there, and
maybe she can send me a message on Facebook.
She'll send you a message for sure. She will.
Okay, sounds good.
Has anyone got anything before we do we'll do a Anthea? I was going to do you, wasn't I? Is it late over there? You guys all look like you're reclining, sleeping. Vinka's still driving. Where the hell are you going, Vinka? We're like, you've been driving this whole time. Are you trying to escape the planet? Trying to find somewhere where there's no effects of your thinking?
Vinka's going back to heaven. That's where she's going.
She's there already. Look at her. Anthea.
Dave. Hey, Dave. Toby wants to say hello.
Hello.
Toby, look at the size of you. Have you been eating vegetables?
Yeah, I eat vegetables.
All the grandkids keep coming in here, so we might have a few extras for the light session.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Not that they need it. They don't need it though. Look at him.
He's just beaming.
He's not shaking his head. No, I don't need it.
I'm trying to remember to be like this, Dave.
Right,
like a child.
Exactly. No clue.
No.
Lily, come here.
Lily, come here.
Shortcut.
All right, Anthea. Alana, mute your thing.
I think I was doing well. I was doing well, Dave, and then my ego stamped all over it. And I felt like I'd aired everything and was, nice and empty and, ready for the next stage. And now my ego's just been running amok, and I've got, you know, problems with faith. I've got nowhere to put my faith into. You know, I don't even know whether I believe this. If I don't believe it, I don't think I can go anywhere with it. So it's all gone
you don't
tits
believe
up.
it. Of course you don't believe it. It wouldn't be faith if you believed it.
I don't completely not believe it, though.
Right. Let's look at the totally I don't completely not believe. Let's look as you don't believe a thing about it. You don't believe anything of it. It's either all or nothing. I'm telling you, there is no world. And you're saying, I don't know if I believe that. Right.
Yes, it's more, you know, if there's no world, what is there? Like, I need some,
right,
like, where I don't even know what this looks like. You know, this light
Right, good.
experience. What does it look like? Is it a
Good.
flash of light? I don't know. And also, if I see it, I could be disappointed. It might not be as good as some of the experiences I've had in this life with,
On
you know,
drugs.
drugs or sex. What if
Right.
I have this experience and I think that's a bit rubbish compared to.
Well, then don't have the experience. Why would you do this? Don't bother with it then. You're going to get the results of your own thinking, and that's how you're going to learn. Right? I know full well everybody comes to this with no clue about the fact that there is no world. If you knew that already, you wouldn't be in a Zoom meeting. If you knew that already, you'd have total faith. You'd be like, hey, there's no world. Now what do I do? Right? You'd be hanging out in that sort of sovereign space with grace, patiently waiting for the whole catch up of the sonship with Jesus, just chilling. You'd be in a perfect state of being, and your ego wouldn't be plaguing you, wouldn't be bothering you. Okay? I know that you don't know whether this is for you, because nobody ever does. This is crazy. This is batshit crazy, right? You've got to look at it honestly. What do you mean there is no world? That's crazy. I can see it. I can touch it. I can do these lessons. I can look at this cup and I can, you know, like, I can look at all this stuff. It's like, I don't care if you're a Hindu, you know, like the world is the Maya, or if you're a Buddhist, the world is just a projection of my own mind. If you're an Australian Aboriginal, the world is just nothing more than a dream. You know, if you're a Sufi, the world is a dream. All of these things, all of these declarations that there is no world come from minds who've experienced that there is no world, right? Two minds that still believe the world is real. And your journey with it is going to be the same as anyone else's journey with it, right? Your time of salvation is upon you now, just the same as anyone else's time of salvation is upon you. And this is what it looks like. You can't work it out. There are no guarantees in advance, and you'll see it when you believe it. It's like I said to Safwan, right? Make experiments with your faith. Make experiments with your faith. Build your faith. Faith is its own reward. If you've never had a moment where you've had to take a leap of faith and you're trying to step into the experience of there is no world, that's going to fry your mind. I can sit here and tell you that a full-on light experience is more beautiful, right? Let me backstory a bit, right? I've done drugs, right? It got me to the course. I've done all sorts of crazy drugs. You know, the worst drugs I ever did in my life, the ones that gave me the most profound experience, was blue meanies, magic mushrooms. Everybody. So in northern New South Wales, right, you have magic mushrooms, which are gold top mushrooms, and then you have blue meanies. Everybody who's had blue meanies tells you, don't do the blue meanies. They're too strong. But they give you the biggest experience, right? But the psilocybin dose that they contain is off the scale, right? I found some blue meanies growing in a cow poo one day under a bridge in the dark on a farm that was next door to me, and I couldn't resist it. I'm like, I have to try this, because I was on a journey of experience. I'd already realized I'd had an experience of things that I couldn't explain. I'd already realized that there was something going on outside of the world, outside of what was deemed to be regular and my normal life. And I thought to myself, maybe if I get the right drug that will grow in nature somewhere, I'll have an experience of oneness, or an experience of something. I took these blue meanies and I had an experience of the total opposite of that. It was just 8, 9, 10 hours of utter hell, right? I had demons flying around the house. They were there the same as you're sitting here in the Zoom meeting with me. I had the Archangel Michael. I had all sorts of shit going on, and I was terrified. It was so real. It was happening. I don't know if I was still in the world or not in the world, but it was happening, right? Now, the experience in the light is beyond even that. The experience in the light is, it's not more real to me than this. It's what reality is. It's what reality is. It's like putting a fish back in water, right? If you're still looking for an experience that's going to make you feel good, get out and do drugs. Get out and have relationships. Get out and do whatever. If you're looking for an experience of where you belong, what home is, what reality is, this is the place you need to be. But you have to make that choice. All right? Salvation is for you. When you want it is up to you. Right? The curriculum is not of your own making. I don't care if you're a religious person, not a religious person, whatever. Right? You can have all kinds of experiences. DMT, the spirit molecule, the whole thing, all of that. You can have all of those things that shows you spiritual, wonderful, beautiful things. That's still not what I'm talking about. It's beyond everything. If you can imagine it, if you can experience it in time and space, it's not it. I don't care how many drugs, I don't care how many gurus or how many whatever that you've sat with. It's one experience for one moment in your mind. And it will satisfy you forever and for the rest of your life, and you'll never want anything else. Since my mind opened, like 1997, I experienced direct union with God. Everything else is gone. I still do stuff. I still buy cars and go places on holidays and have little adventures and whatever in time and space, but they don't mean anything to me anymore. They have very, very little meaning. And if they still do have meaning, it's fading. It's going, going, going. And that experience that I had, that memory of God, which is burning bright in my mind, it has never left me. It's the predominant, it's everything. It makes sense of everything. It's where I belong. It's where I am and what I am.
Where my fear is. Okay. Vinka, you need to mute.
Yeah, mute Vinka there. Vinka, Tina, can you mute Vinka? Oh, Anthea, can you mute? Yep, that's it. So I know that you're going to feel uncertainty about this all the way, because this is a journey into fear. It's a journey of uncertainty, right? The ego is always uncertain, and you're going to have little milestone moments, and then you're going to have great confusion, like the rug's pulled out from under your feet. Okay? Every time the rug's pulled out from under your feet, you're going to have to choose. Am I going to go on? Am I going to keep going with this? Okay? That's where you're at now. I don't know if this is for me. I didn't know if it was for me either. I didn't want to believe that there is no world. I threw that damn book across the room several times. I used it for toilet paper. I used the pages out of it to light my fire. I know my friend who threw it into the mangroves and it came back to her. You know, you're going to kick and scream all the way. You're going to argue about it. You're going to be like, oh, I don't know, and I'm out of this, and then you'll be back in it because somewhere in your mind, you know it's true. Somewhere you know that the idea that there is no world is actually the truth of the world. It doesn't exist. It is a manifestation of light, dense, dark light. It is a quantum entanglement. It's all of that. Right? But it's not what reality is. You are spirit. Now, if you've still got time left in the world, if you've still got things out here that you want to do, go and save the world, save the planet, the environment, all of that sort of stuff, or if you've still got relationships that you think can be salvaged, or you can have an incredible romance and all that, go do it. Get it out of your system. Be honest about it. Salvation will be here in 10,000 years when you get back. There'll be another Zoom meeting where we'll probably all be, we won't even need screens. We'll just be floating around without bodies. Who knows what the hell? But you've got to be honest. I can't tell you to stay in the Zoom meeting. I can tell you that staying in the Zoom meeting will be beneficial to you if you understand its purpose and if that purpose is your purpose. If you're having severe doubts about it, maybe you need to address those doubts. Maybe you need to look at why the hell you're doing A Course in Miracles in the first place. Maybe you haven't realized that there's nothing out in the world yet, that it's just all roads lead to death. All roads lead to death except salvation. All the roads and all the pathways that the world offer you are all the same: death. Salvation is the only one offered to you that is not ending in that result. But you've got to choose for it, and it's got to be an active choice. You've got to be like, I see that everything I do in the world, no matter how much money I have, no matter how much fame and influence I have, it all just ends in death. Right? But it's like everything seems like hard work to you because the ego doesn't want to put in the effort. You don't think you're worth the effort. I'm telling you are. I've seen you in the light. I know how beautiful and radiant you are. I can't describe it, but I know it. It's up to you to want that for yourself. You got the world or you got God. The world or 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 God. That's it. That's the range of your choice. The world's going to make it seem as if you've got endless choices. Well, what about becoming a bricklayer or a rocket technician or whatever? That's something you could do that's not the world or God. No, it's still the world. You're still going to die. Again and again and again and again and again and again and again. How long, Holy Son of God? How long until you accept salvation? When? Everyone's waiting for you. So let me accept salvation for myself now. Let me accept atonement for myself now. This world has nothing to offer you. I can tell you that till I'm blue in the face. You can be all the best real estate agents you want to be. You can be the ruler of the whole damn place. It still offers you nothing. There is nothing here that is anything more than lipstick on a skeleton. Breathe. I hate to break it to you, like I hate to be the one to burst your bubble, but at some point the bubble's going to be burst. There's a limit on time and space. I'd hate to see you at the queue of the gate to get the hell out of here on the last days. It's like hopefully we can eliminate the backlog of people waiting with their visas for their time-space exit by getting a few of you out of here now. Does that make sense? Jesus says in the Bible, on the last day, there will be much wailing and moaning and gnashing of teeth. Gnashing of teeth. I love how descriptive he is. There will be many who say that I was with you, Jesus, and he's going to deny them. He's going to, nah, you're not coming in. You go find another planet, you do this. You have to go through your transformation. You have to be purified. You have to undergo the transformation of your mind. Return your mind to God as it was given to you, free of the world. This world is not my home. It's not your home. Let those who still think it's their home take care of it. Let those who still think there's something here to do, do it. But you come with me. Take my hand, come with me. We're leaving. We're going onward in the journey of the soul. We're going to the Bardo with our golden ticket and laughing all the way through the gate. You're included in salvation. You're included in salvation. What are you going to do? Turn away now? Right, exactly. It's like, that's the tough love. I hate to be the one that breaks it to you, but you don't really have a choice. Everywhere you go from this point on, you're going to be like, I read this book that said there is no world and I've denied it. I was offered salvation and I turned it away because I didn't like how it looked. I didn't think it should be like this. I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't know if the experience was going to be worth all the effort. What kind of effort is there in unconditional love? If that's what you're truly saying you want, it must be effortless because it's natural. It's the state of your mind in its purest form, in its purest, This is the moment. This is where the rubber hits the road. I'm either saying yes to Jesus or I'm not. I'm either saying yes to salvation or I'm not. That's any moment of the day. But it's like in the moment where you find yourself doubting, where you feel like you don't have faith, that's the moment you really need to look at it. What is it I want? What is there out in the world that I think that could be better than this? It's like all you guys in England, you should just go to Barry's farm and just live there and refuse to leave. He's got this place, it's beautiful in the country. He'll build you a cabin. He'll put a whole thing together and you guys just go hang out and do this. Whatever it takes, Anthea, whatever it takes. It's like the idea that I still have time left in me, the idea that I still have potential for something other than salvation. I get that. I understand that. Everybody has that. But there's a point where you have that and then you realize, or you look at that reasonably and think, there's nothing in it. There's nothing in it. It's just more of the same shit. And I'll find myself back here another day, 10 years later, some other guy with a weird beanie is going to be talking to me, telling me stuff, or there's going to be some other book that I'm reading, doing lessons, and I'm going to be back where I was before. It's like Pam, right? So Pam said 20 years ago, whatever she found, that's a common story, Pam, that I get all the time. So many people tell me I've had this book for 20 years, right? And now I'm back doing it again because I want to go deeper, right? For me, it was 2 years. The first year of the workbook, I got to lesson like 260 or something like that. And I realized how little integrity I'd been putting into it. And I made a decision the next year to start from lesson 1 again and give it everything. And I would write on my arm with a big pen, the lesson for the day, the heading, so I wouldn't forget to do it. And I put in the effort and I got a totally different result. Lesson 12, bam, I had a shift in consciousness that was so profound, I didn't even know what the hell happened. It was like I went to bed one person and woke up the next day, I was completely different. But you got to decide for that. You got to choose. Is this my time to do this? I can't tell you that. But you seem to be here and you seem to be doing it. So I'm just going to treat you as if you've said yes to God. Right? I know you've got doubts. Bring them with you. I know you've got fears. Bring them with you. Right? None of those things have any concern to the Holy Spirit. You only have to give a little bit of willingness, and you're here, so at least you have that little bit of willingness. Your ego is going to kick and scream all the way I this, I that. I who? Who's the I that you're talking about? It's not the true I of you. It's not the real I, the self. All that I want, I need, I think. That's just ego having a tantrum. All right, everybody. Have I done everybody? I like to get around and do some housekeeping. It's good. Breathe. Take a breath. Oh, Wesley and Angie. Hey, down there. What's going on? Angie, let's do with you. You're looking beautiful. Look at that smile.
Thanks.
That smile's angelic.
Well, for me today, we joined with David Hallmeister for the movie before this meeting, and come up some fear that sometimes before expressed in our relationship with Wesley, that fear that I don't know, deeper, like special relationship that I have with him, or fear to lose something, or I don't know, that he leave me and go with other woman or even with other men.
Yep. Yep.
And this come up again today for me.
Good.
This fear that I don't know what is that. I know that this is only the supervised and it's something deeper, and I want to go deeper with this.
Right. Everything's a reflection of your relationship with God. Okay. Now, let's look at this as a mirror. It doesn't matter whether it's Wesley or someone else. There will always be some situation to show you something. All right. Close your eyes for a second. Imagine you're looking into a mirror of this situation. And with one word, I want you to identify what you see in the mirror. What is this showing you? One word. If it's a feeling or an attitude or whatever, that's fine. Whatever it is.
Fear.
Fear?
Fear.
Okay. So love is letting go of fear. Right now, fear is the status quo of time and space. Right? This is an experience of fear. Right? It's like I said before, Buddha says that all of life is suffering. Oh, you guys keep jumping around here. All life is suffering. Right? All of life is fear in the world. It's the manifestation of a fearful state, which we call separation. It's totally terrifying. Okay. That's fine. It's good you can identify it. I have fear about losing Wesley, or he's going to go with other women or whatever. That's fine. That's just how the fear shows up in a tangible way, so you can identify the catalyst. Okay. The catalyst is your relationship with Wesley. He's showing you that you have fear in you. When we do our circle, if it didn't manifest, let me put it this way, if it didn't manifest as the fear of the loss of something, it would manifest as the fear of something else in another way. Okay, because fear is always expressed. In the moment you're no longer expressing fear, you'll have a moment of light. You'll have a holy instant. Right? This whole Course in Miracles is a what do you call it? Like a virus to the ego, right? We're putting an out of sequence, out of time schism into your mind here called salvation, where I'm telling you there's no such thing as death. And that's going to bounce around in there and activate you. There is no world. That's going to bounce around in there and activate you. You're going to want to look at it from every side because it's out of context with everything else, right? It's going to activate you. Now, the principles of allowing that activation to grow fruit in you is the relinquishment of fear, the letting go of fear. But if it didn't manifest as Wesley's situation, whatever, it would manifest as something else, all right? The Course is merely showing you how to identify through using those triggers. Wesley's a trigger. All relationships are triggers, showing you where it is that you're at with things. You've just seen it and identified it correctly as fear. Now we need to heal that, all right, together. Otherwise, you'll be running around healing the fear of regret, the fear of whatever it is, a million different fears, right? How it shows up. Let's just do the one whole fear and be done with it. Let's just give the whole thing to God, be done with it. Okay. Now, whether you have enough faith, like Anthea and where's he gone? Oh, he's gone. Whether you have enough faith to do that yet, I don't know. That's up to you. But literally, when you draw that circle, so like Jesus went into the desert and drew a circle for 40 days and 40 nights, he sat there without food and water. It's like, man, I couldn't do that. I'd be lucky to last one day. I'd probably be dead. You know, there's that guy that sits in the ice, you know, and Wim Hof. I couldn't do that. I'd probably be dead. I don't know how the hell these guys did his mind over matter shit, right? Jesus has obviously got his finger in some kind of pie that I'm just sort of smelling baking in the oven. He's already eaten the whole thing, right? Same for you guys. It's like, I don't know how far down the rabbit hole that you're going to allow yourself to go every time fear shows its head. But I can tell you, if you're willing to go all the way to the bottom, it'll be done for good. But until then, we'll just go a bit at a time. We'll chip away at it like an iceberg. All right? Which is why your awakening keeps pace with you, keeps gentle pace with you. And I often laugh when I read that your awakening keeps gentle pace with you, because sometimes it doesn't seem to be gentle. It seems to be quite horrible. But, you know, it's like, surely this can't be the way, Jesus. But Jesus says in the Bible, the road is steep and hard, and there are a few people you find on that road, you know, so be it. So we'll do our light set. Where's Lisa gone? She's disappeared. We'll do our light session because guys are getting tired and disappearing off the screen. And then I'll give you some homework after. All right. It's good that you do all those other things too, Angie, like David Hoffmeister and whoever. I mean, there's a whole bunch of guys out there, Earl Purdy and whatever, and Nuke Sanchez and other people like that, and they all offer kind of different things just to stay involved, just to stay in this frequency, in this energy. All right? Because it's better than going out talking to your neighbor about the weather and their dog and their kids and crap like that. I mean, because you're likely to become mindlessly preoccupied with stuff like that, whereas in this kind of energy, you cannot not maintain some kind of focus. Okay, because it's what we're here for. It's a deliberate choice we've made. All right. So close your eyes.